Now let's talk about tasks and backstacks in Android. A task is a collection of activities that users interact with when performing a certain job. So if a user is using your app and they happen to perform collection of activities, then that collection would be regarded as a task. The activities are arranged in a stack, which is called the backstack. And these activities, all the activities that the user is performing with your app, are arranged in a stack. Now, if you know what is a stack, great. If you don't know, we will discuss it in our next slide. Every time the user presses the back button, the latest activity that is added is removed from the stack. Now, here what the stack is. Let's say this is what a stack is, right? And let's say this is a stack of one of your apps that you have developed and the user is using it. So this is the first activity that they interact with while using your app, and in the first activity you're taking username and login ID and password, and then they are taken to activity 2, and then they are taken to activity 3, right? So this is like last in first out, right? So this is this is the way the stack is being arranged, and as the interaction of this of the activity is increasing, we can see that the stack entries are getting increased, right? Now let's say the user decides to press the back button when they are at the last stack, right? So this is the current state of the stack, and the user press the back button. In that case, of course, the activity 5 will be removed from the stack and activity 4 will be at the top of the stack, right? And this is how the back button actually operates. If you have noticed, when you press the back button, you're taken to the last activity, or the last the whatever you were doing in the last screen starts showing up on your screen once you press the back button, right? So this is the concept of stacks that is used in Android. Now let us go to developer docs and see how exactly is this being implemented. Now here we are in the Android developer docs, and as you can see that we have skipped this test your activities, and we are right now discussing the tasks and backstack. Here we can see that they have mentioned that the when apps are running simultaneously in a multi-windowed environment. So as we know that after Android 7.0, that is API level 24 and higher, the system can manage multi-windows, and in such an environment each window may have multiple tasks. So the Android has the capability to manage two stacks, two set of stacks for these two different multiple windows, right? The same holds true for Android apps running on Chromebooks. Now the device home screen is the starting place for the most tasks. When the user touches on an icon in the app launcher, that app's task comes to the foreground. If no task exists for the app has not been used recently, then a new task is created and the main activity for that app opens as the root activity in the stack. Like we discussed, the activities will get aligned or will get stacked up in a stack. So in case you have not used the app for quite some time, in that case a new stack will be created or a new task will be created, because these set of activities in a stack are actually called a task, right? So in case you have not used the app recently, then a new stack will be created. In case you did use it earlier some time back, then the older stack will show up and the activities, because this is what you must have realized. Let's say you were on a Facebook app, and after like 2 days you come back to Facebook app, and whatever actions that you had taken some 2 days back, the same order of those actions will be getting repeated in case you press the back button, right? So and of course, like always, this all depends upon your what all hardware do you have in your Android phone. Now, like I said earlier also, the kind of RAM that we have in our phones, most of the times you can safely assume that anything that you worked on for the past 7, 8, or in fact even in some cases a month will stay as a task in your Android phone, but you cannot take chances, right? In any case, this is how the tasks work, and this is how the stacks are maintained. You might want to go and visit this video. They have tried to explain it and done a great job in explaining how does the stack, these tasks and backstack work. when the current activity starts, the new activity is pushed on the top of the stack and takes focus. So like I said, this will be like every time a new activity is added, the activity 2 here starts activity 2, so activity 2 is getting added here, and then activity 3. So all the older activities, they keep getting down, and as you press the back button, the activity 3 gets destroyed and activity 2 remains comes at the top, right? So that's how it works. Another thing is there is this functionality which basically an app, a task flag that you can provide in your manifest in case you don't want let's say there is a scenario where in one particular activity you keep on performing the same task. A typical example would be you're searching something in a Google app, and when you are searching, you know that these searches will keep on happening time and again for some time, right? So if every time the user searches something and a new activity is started, in that case, that is something which you might not want to have, because you don't want to keep the results of all the searches that the user has done up till now, right? In such a case, there are flags which you can use to maintain the activity or maintain the particular activity, the latest updated activity, only in the stack and not all the activities where the user was searching, right? You might want to go and check out this tutorial, small tutorial which they have, wherein they have mentioned how to use these flags. Similarly, a task is a cohesive unit that can move to the background when user begins a new task or goes to the home screen, right? Like I said, task is a collective collection of activities, so it goes to the background in case a new task has been started for another app. While in the background all the activities in the task are stored, but the backstack for the task remains intact. So this backstack will be maintained because that is what the entire idea of maintaining a stack is all about, right? I mean, the user wants to use the app again, then they might want to come back to the same app. A task can then return to the foreground so users can pick up and where they left off. After interacting with the app, the user returns home again and selects the app that originally started task A. Now task A comes to the back foreground. So basically they're talking about how two tasks can go in the background and in the front. Because the activities in the backstack are never rearranged, if your app allows users to start a particular activity from more than one activity, a new instance of that activity is created and pushed onto the stack. A very important thing that you must remember, in case your app allows new activities to start up from multiple locations, in that case the separate instances will be put in the stack, right? This is important because you don't want to misunderstand this. You don't want to assume that because there are two activities, same activity is getting started from two different locations, only one instance will be saved. No, both the instances will be saved. As such, if the user navigates backward using the back button, each instance of the activity is revealed in the order they were opened, each with their own UI state. However, you can modify this behavior if you do not want the activity to be instantiated more than once. Yes, of course, you can change it if you want to. You can do that by, we'll discuss it later. This is in managing tasks. How can you avoid this? Now, if you remember, I was talking about some flags. So these are the flags that I was talking about. Managing tasks is a topic which will come in some time. In fact, that's the next topic, so we can discuss it right away after we discuss this small bit. To summarize the default behavior of the activities and tasks: when activity A starts activity B, activity A stopped, but the system retains its state. Basically, it maintains its state or retains its state in the backstack. When the user leaves a task by pressing the home button, the current activity is stopped and its task goes into the background. The system retains the state of every activity in the task. If the user later resumes the task by selecting the launcher icon that began the task comes to the foreground and resumes the activity at the top of the stack. Activities can be instantiated multiple times, even more from other tasks. We have already discussed this, right? Now in the next video, let's talk about managing tasks.